disappointed.
And
some of them were outrightly provocative.
yes.
Some of them were completely off the cuff. And, you know, the earlier question was about the use of this country. And I asked myself, if people are still talking about, because what some of the things that came out was like annexing territories. If people will still, you know, project the dominance of, you know, territorial, I just found it a bit ridiculous. This is where I think we need, I think the problem really is more of a value thing. I think I'm beginning to feel that Nigerians, the leaders of this country, we seem to have lost it. Particularly people who ordinarily should be seen to lead in moral regeneration. The truth of the matter is that this country is not working. And if somebody is still talking about, and the reason it's not working is because too many hands are out of work. And somebody is talking about oil belonging to, I think for now, if it's supposed to even to shut off, to cock up our oil wells, so that Nigerians can even have a break from our oil and then to
see what it's like to live without the oil
from the scratch. I think that's what we should be discussing, not how to expand our economic zones, our privileged positions and things like that. I mean, that was what I was a bit disappointed. So to come back to your question, I think it's very, very disappointing. I consider it particularly very disappointing.
And to add to this, Sanya, the question begs itself, which Northern Elders Forum? Because there's a Northern Elders Forum that is chaired by Alhaji Tanko Yakasai. And that Northern Elders Forum has totally bought into the conference. Alhaji Tanko Yakasai is a member is one of the delegates. What I noticed is that Mr. Paul Unongo, my respected senior, and a few people are doing now, are more like, oh, so we were not considered, therefore, the Yoruba put it this way, kakake kuma jesese, afisha wada. If the mouse will not get the cheese, then the cheese will not be eaten by anybody. That is more like what this group of so-called Northern Elders Forum are doing. The kind of declaration was a declaration of total irresponsibility, so far as I'm concerned.
Well, let me take a different, if it's still on that question,
please.
because I like to, there are a lot of things on this matter that I would have loved to. I don't think we should be entirely put off by some of these contradictions that we are witnessing. Just so that, one, people will even take advantage of those contradictions to emphasize on the need, on why we must move on. And I take it from where my friend Mr. Sanya left off, to say that in the course of nation building, even in constitutional democracy, this idea of creating a space for dialogue, discourse, and debate is by far more important than some of the strategies that most people think are the best. The entire Northeast is at a state of war as we speak now. If there are ways by which, in the spirit of conflict resolution, you can introduce any form of discourse around these warring people, you'll be shocked that the prospect to the end of it will begin from those initiatives. And therefore, whoever has come out to say, I don't believe in it, he reserves the right to say it, even if he said it stupidly. But I think that we've moved and we've left. The train is about taking off. Look, some of us are even the worst critics of what has happened. And it's quite situated within the context of the history of this idea. It is never Jonathan's idea or Basanjo's idea. No. These are ideas that were conceived by well-meaning Nigerians. And I take you a little historical to say that, look, it was actually because of the persistent perennial military rule in African states that gave rise to this. It happened in Togo. About that time in 1990, thereabout, the idea was accepted, was sold to Babangida. He accepted it. But as the Maradona that he was, he also needed to scuttle it when the variables that would define his regime were also going to play the later Akaba Shoro, Professor Woloshenka. even Mr. Falana and a host of others about that time, conceived this idea, took proactive steps, even organized, kicked off at the National Theatre before Babangida came with his soldiers to disperse them. It didn't end there. You had even Abacha. Abacha convoked a conference.
Yes.
But again, his intention to transmute into a life president scuttled that idea. Obasanjo gave us. Obasanjo's intention through the totem, swallowed the whole idea. So I'm thinking that, yes, there are many of us who have serious reservations about this, particularly the outcome, particularly the implementation of the outcome. There are those who have raised fundamental questions as, what is the legal framework or mechanisms that will take care of this huge amount of money that is now deployed into talk instead of creating jobs? How do we ensure that 3 months, and I can bet you it cannot be 3 months, because 1 month after that time, after the commencement of this program, the politics of alignment regarding pushing ideas will take up to that 1 month. It cannot be 1 month. So let them be ready to spend more, because I understand 7 billion is to take care of 3 months. So how do we ensure that after this time, after these resources, we will not come back to what the president was, if you allow me, what the president said about returning the whole thing to the National Assembly. These are questions. These are questions that beg for answer, and I think we can do well by focusing on those aspects of it.
Okay.
Just so to guide what is going on.
Mr. Oni, I have to ask you this question because from early on, we had been told that the unity of Nigeria was not a matter to be discussed at that conference. Whereas for many, for most Nigerians, that seems to be at the core of the matter. That is what we are going there to discuss. If we are going to remain married, on what terms shall we remain husband and wife?
Even as lawyers, when you go to court with very hostile applications, the opponent, the first thing it does is to challenge the jurisdiction of the court to even hear it. We have left the stage where tomorrow's judges throw up their hands in heaven and say we can't do anything. They will decide whether indeed they have the jurisdiction.
It's as simple as that.
I don't think it's an issue. Asking that people should not discuss the direction of deliberations will bear things out. If truly Nigerians are resolved to stay together, sometimes I feel some of these things are superfluous. You don't need it. Why are Nigerians, why are some people paranoid about unity? Look, you could have a husband and wife living together, cohabiting without unity. I think the thing to do is to address the roots of these fears. I don't think we do ourselves as a country justice by pretending that things are well. The truth of the matter is that things are not well. And for me, it's far more productive to focus on how we can make this union work. I've never heard, sincerely, like you said, occasionally you hear such comments about, let's even tear this country apart. But I do not believe that they represent the dominant view of the majority. Such comments only seek to draw our attention to some of the fundamental imbalances in our federation.
Exactly.
Look, our problems in this country have been well diagnosed. I think we have an idea of what the problems are. The truth of the matter today, we have a large center that has become too dominant for our good. Look, somebody said our president is probably the most powerful in the world. I agree. Our presidency, is probably one of the most powerful in the world. Do we really need it? And then look at the center. There's so much waste. And then look at the mad rush to go to Abuja. The other day I went to the village. I saw that the local governments only exist in name. Why? Because they can't even generate money to pay their own wages. I'm not even talking of states now. And then you have local governments. Problems that could better be solved locally. You are looking to Abuja to solve problems. Sanitation. They cannot, unless they go to Abuja to collect the monthly stipend, They can't even fix sanitation.